Greetings. This is Derrick Michaels joining you from Baltimore, Maryland, and this is our final episode of Thursday Thoughts. Needless to say, we're all relieved to get out of 2020. Also, needless to say, some of what we've experienced in 2020 is going to be here for a little while longer, and yet we are at the point where we get to decide, based on a new calendar year, what might we wish to shift in our own sphere. What do we want to hang on to? What do we want to try differently? I'm not one for resolutions typically, but my favorite resolution that I've made creatively thus far in the course of the last 10 or more years was in 2019. And I'll bring this up just because we're not sure what any of this might mean for 2021, and we can really consider how we might set some intentions for a cold few months while we're stuck at home. We've already been stuck at home for a while, but it's different in winter, and I've talked about that in some previous videos a little bit. But 2019, I wrote one New Year's resolution. It was one sentence, and it was so open-ended that I had no idea how I was going to deliver on it, but I figured it at least was, it left me with a lot of optimism and possibility. So the resolution was to serve the community by making better music. That's all it said. It could have meant anything. I could have convinced myself that I accomplished that without ever actually doing anything all that different, which actually felt like a potential pitfall, and I got a little panicky after I kind of pronounced that or declared it out into the world. It's like, I'm going to be serving the community by making better music in 2019. But quickly that took on a whole energy about itself, and it manifested into a concert series, 12 monthly concerts, spontaneously composed music from start to finish with no preconception about anything other than who was going to play. And even a couple of those months, there were folks who were booked who had something come up last minute and they couldn't make it. So thinking about how that intention that I set 2 New Year's resolutions ago, right? 2019, that very simple, open-ended thought kind of created a world of possibility for me to live into, to grow into. And I came up with a whole mission statement for what that concert series was going to look like. And I even considered what are things that I usually do in the community that I might have to stop doing for a little while in order to make room for the big, like, head in the clouds nature of this idea. So what ended up happening was I chose to not play any concerts in 2019 that had my name on the bill, that were intended to be kind of background music, incidental to some kind of social hang where music is like kind of happening in the corner. As a jazz musician, so many of the gigs that we play are Derrick Michaels Trio playing at whatever bar, restaurant, and like half the people in the room are not listening to anything that's happening. It doesn't matter how great the band might be. So the circumstances, the context, the setting that things are happening in became a big focal point for me. What were frustrations that I felt like I was butting up against leading up to 2019? How can I serve the community by making better music? How many aspects of what we do in presentation affect the sound of the music itself? If we're in a concert hall instead of a noisy bar, all of a sudden you can hear more of the details of what's happening. That's invariably going to change the experience for both the performer and the listener. If the musicians are receptive to that energy, that shift, and they can hear and work with that shift in attention to detail, that band will play it very differently in a setting like Andi Musique in Baltimore than we might in a place like Bertha's or any other kind of bar setting where we're competing with some other energies and sounds that are happening. Not to say that there's anything negative about those experiences. They're beautiful. Up to the point of coming up with this New Year's resolution and trying to change the way that I engaged with the public and changed the settings that I was presenting music in order to open space and energy and silence up around the music. I recognized that I was maybe trying a little bit too hard to do interesting things in bars. I was trying really hard to control the outcome of what seemed to be happening out there in the audience. What happened as a result of being able to make this shift, though, was it was a small handful of gigs that I played that were straight ahead jazz gigs in bars like I had been playing in the past, and having the experience of being able to do this more intimate concert hall presentation actually heightened the experience, like the value of the experience for me of being able to just lean in and swing hard and play, just play tunes and not really worry about trying to control what people were, if there were people at the back bar who might have been looking at the TV, like, that's okay, right? Or if we have a small handful of people who are sitting up front and listening to us, whatever that experience is, it was easier to let that whole microcosm just be what it was without trying so hard to exert my own will on how that was going to happen. It actually it just made that experience that much more fun. And the arc of my musical experiences, I had been able to produce about 20 concerts between a few different venues. And every band was totally different almost every time. And just being able to put everything I had into this concert right now, these people, this room, here it is, and then let it go. And then the next time it happens, it's just the same, it's that same process again, but the experience will be totally different. So it was fascinating to think about how that one idea, that idealistic little sentence of I'm going to serve the community by making better music in 2019 turned into a whole, I will say, like a radical paradigm shift for me in terms of what my creative intentions were and how I wanted to bring myself to the music, how I wanted to bring the music to people, and how I wanted that music to be the center of attention. Not because I wanted to be the center of attention, but I wanted to bring people's attention into the music front and center because I know what it does for me to feel that collective attention all on the music. Just the music. Not the musicians, but the music. So coming into 2020, it wasn't a radically different resolution that I was making that was all that different from 2019. The biggest difference might have been that I was getting a little self-conscious of the fact that I was front and center of every performance that I was putting together. These were all concerts that were Derrick Michaels with a saxophone and a hat and the whole thing, and so I made an attempt, rather than to just continue that same trajectory, that the next series of concerts were going to be featuring. They were like, I was on stage, but it wasn't all about me. So the next concert series for 2020 was about sharing that spotlight with people. And I selected 12 wonderful, creative young musicians from town here in Baltimore, who I feel are, the next generation of great contributors to the music here. Not that they were the 12. They were 12 of an ever-growing number of people who are already making their contributions in their own way, and maybe don't have the recognition that I feel that they deserve yet. So we got about 3 months into that. We got the first 3 concerts completed. We got through them. We made them happen. They were beautiful. And then COVID hit. And so every one of those intentions that I had in bringing new people together and creating new opportunities and experiences for people who maybe haven't had a lot of experience in putting together a band, programming a concert, talking to the audience, having all eyes and ears on them in that sort of a setting. Ani Musique is a dedicated listening room. So all of these folks had produced their own concerts and done very interesting collaborations in town and in other places too. But I've got this, ever since that series in 2019, it really feels to me like, there's this magic that happens when everybody's on a real stage and people buy a ticket and they sit and they give their attention for an hour or two. It's a big deal, and it changes the way that we feel about what we bring to the table. If we really think about it, it asks us to kind of embody a certain energy. So sharing that experience, even with the handful of musicians that I got to do that with at the beginning of the year, was transformative in and of itself. We only got 3 out of 12 to happen thus far. So we've got 9 more concerts that whenever I can, I'll make those happen. So 2021, I'm not sure. I haven't sat down and thought of what the resolution's going to be because so much has been up in the air and will continue to be on the other side of this milestone. But we know we have vaccines. We know they're getting out to people. We know that at some point in 2021, there's a likelihood that we're going to play music in front of people again, and you're going to get to come and hear it. And so there's an energy of hope. There's some light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how far away that might be in reality. I want to make sure for myself that I step into this next year feeling that anything is possible, feeling connected with hope, feeling connected with the creative energy, the impulse to continue to try to make stuff happen. But I will say that it's been really important for me to learn the lessons I've learned in 2020, to connect with the ordinary aspects of life that have been otherwise eclipsed for me for at least 10 or 15 years by the big, glamorous, I say facetiously, but the glamour of that creative lifestyle that we build, where music or whatever your art is, where that's like front and center as your identity. Everything about just dealing with normal life can feel very droll and gray, as compared with the peak experiences of the catharsis of being able to play into a room full of people. I feel so grateful to have been able to find the beauty and the magic and the depth and the vibrance of just workaday life, just being at home, taking care of stuff, working on things on my saxophone that I can't do as well as I'd like to yet, celebrating things that are really beautiful about it, playing for fun because I enjoy it, just remembering that enjoyment of life is absolutely essential to being a creative person in 2021. 2021, but the 21st century in general, the starving artist, the tortured creative archetype is not serving us anymore. And I clung to that for a really long time. It worked very well with my personality type. And I'm recognizing that the music is only getting better by me figuring out how to be into life too, and not just into, intellect and creativity and groundbreaking new ideas and whatever, all of the stuff that we're here to experience, that we have at our disposal, all the things that make life beautiful and interesting and worth living are not necessarily all peak experiences. So as much as there has been to grieve in what we've lost in terms of opportunities in 2020, I'm absolutely grateful for everything that I was able to gain in terms of the insight and the heightened sensitivity to the magic of everyday life here. And I can't wait to feel the powerful experience of making music in a room with other people again and for other people. Can't wait to hug some of you. That whole human to human thing is missing, and I miss it terribly, but it doesn't mean that life feels empty. And so not so much a resolution, not so much even in I'm not telling you guys what to do, but if you haven't found that feeling already, I invite you to search for it. Sit in silence and just feel yourself in the room you're in. You can call it meditating, you can call it whatever you want, but just be there and feel what that feeling is. And that's what everything comes through. Everything's expressing itself through that energy that's in your body. If you're sitting silently with your eyes closed for an hour, for 5 minutes, for 1 minute, all of the creative energy that lives within you is there at your command, just existing. It's right there at the edge, and all you have to do is give it a little push. Stick a saxophone in your face, give it a little push, there it is. There's your sound. You know, if you're a drummer, it's a stick on a head. If you're a vocalist, it's right here. You know, I don't need to belabor the point. You all understand. The beauty and the profundity of that for me in 2020 is something that I'm experiencing and feeling on a deeper level than I have at any other point in my life. And it took every crazy thing that's happened in order to facilitate that. And so, if nothing else, I'm tremendously grateful for that experience, and I can't wait to see what that allows and inspires when we're on the other side of all this stuff next year. So this is the last video like this for a while. There will be more videos at some point, but they're probably not going to be weekly, and there might be a whole other format. I might have to learn something about video editing so that I can do something interesting with the medium. But thank you all for your attention. Please send me an email. I'd love to hear from you all. And otherwise, stay safe, stay healthy, do something fun, do something that nourishes you. Thanks for checking this all out. Can't wait to hear from you. Take care.